Hello, everybody. It's 3:02 a.m. Central Time on the 16th of July, 2023. It's Sunday here in the United States. And I've got breaking news for you in case you're not aware. A large earthquake has struck off the coast of Alaska next to Mount Shishaldin volcano, which just erupted yesterday. And it came in at 7.2 is where we're at now. Originally it started at 7.4 and was downgraded. A tsunami warning was issued and has now been downgraded to an advisory level. I'll go ahead and turn on a display capture just so you can see everything a little bit better. Here's where the USGS is now at the magnitude 7.2. And we can just go through a lot of the links. I've got them open here. Here's the Tsunami Warning Center, and I'll hit refresh just to make sure that we have the most recent information. Tsunami advisory. The advisory is lower than the threat. The original threat, they didn't really put a number on it for the height of the waves, but if you went over to the National Data Buoy Center, you'd see multiple buoys that were in event mode. It was starting out at this one that's going in the middle, and then either side going out in either direction. It looks like they brought a few more online in the past few minutes, in the past hour or two. These, there was, again, we had 3 in event mode. Now we have 5 or 6 that are live across the area. So that's good news to hear that they might be turning others on. That being said, 3 of them were in event mode. I'll click on the one that had the event recorded. That's the red line here. You can't really even see it. I'll click on it a little more and we'll be able to see it better. The key on the left-hand side is in meters, and this looks like a full meter from one side to the other. But I would think, again, I'm guessing, but I think we divide that in half. That it, a corresponding up and a down on a buoy, but you measure from the baseline. Anyway, it would be between 1.5 feet and 3 feet of movement out in the water that far out in the ocean. And I think that's why they issued the tsunami warning. And you had to wait to find out whether or not the wave was going towards land or is it going over to the east or to the west or back out into the ocean. And so no other stations lit up along the coast. It's now been an hour. And a tsunami normally travels at about the speed of a jetliner, so we're talking hundreds of miles per hour, and so it would take about an hour for a wave to get into land. Nothing recorded here, that's good. Let me take you over to Google Earth, though, and show you something that most people didn't hear about. There was a 35,000-foot-high something that happened over here at Mount Shishaldin. Here is Mount Shishaldin, right on the peninsula of Alaska. The earthquake struck about 130 miles out here, just somewhere out here, southeast of Shishaldin. Again, 130 miles out. I can even measure that in miles or in kilometers. It was 215 kilometers. So here's 215, and there's the miles, so 130, somewhere like that. Right next to the volcano that erupted. Shishaldin's not normally on the Volcanic Ash Advisory Center list at all. I mean, we cover this on a regular basis, and I can just tell you I hardly am ever talking about Mount Shishaldin. So for it to be on the list in the past couple days, there it is right there. Volcanic eruption continuing. And again, you guys can go back through the list, the low-level eruptions that were going on there. They weren't, well, now they're low, but originally it was going up to 35. Again, the peak is somewhat high itself, so for it to go 35, I'm not too shocked, but there it is. So big earthquake on the plate boundary next to the volcano. Let me take you over to the USGS plate boundary map really quick. Here are the red lines between the plates. Pacific plate, for instance, in North America, you can see the San Andreas Fault. It's the red line. The plate boundary goes up to the Juan de Fuca fracture zone and then goes and makes a bend up into Alaska. Okay. Now, right along here is where the eruption happened. First, the eruption. And I've talked about this for about 10 years, that when we see eruptive activity, we have to watch next to the volcano if it's along a plate boundary. We especially watch the plate boundary when there's deflation that happens after an eruption. A lot of magmatic contents come out, and there's a deflation that happens in the magma chamber, maybe even slight collapsing that happens, or a refilling or a recharging of the magma chamber after it erupts. And shortly thereafter, it's followed by significant earthquake activity. This is all over the world this way, not just in Alaska. So people are asking me what to look for next. Well, guys, first of all, this is the return back up where we were looking to go. We were looking for this to go back up into the 7.0 range. I made a video just several days ago talking about watching for this just to happen generally around the planet. Solar storm activity. And regardless of what the mainstream media said about being able to see the solar storm and northern lights and all that crap that they had to correct themselves on, we did have an X-class flare and 2 or 3 M as in magnetic class flares. And some of them were Earth-directed. And when we get charged particles that come towards the Earth, within a few days after the Earth gets hit, you see a big earthquake effect that spreads out across the planet. It's not good for forecasting-wise, other than just to know the whole planet's going to see an uptick in activity. But it does help to know that there's going to be an uptick in activity, even if it's just that you're going to see an uptick globally or planet-wide. So we're back to it, 7.2 to 7.4 earthquake. It's the largest earthquake on the planet in several weeks. And we have to go back again to the earthquakes in the West Pacific, where we had our big earthquake activity the last time. So here we are. If we go back to the start of the week, let me show you this other activity that led to this. So preceding this, there was a 6.3 to 6.4 earthquake here and here. The first one, this one struck first, 6.4 to 6.6. Then this one struck, and it's a 6.4. They downgraded it to 6.3. Two of the same sized earthquakes in the East Pacific going over across the eastern part of this red line here. Again, one right here, South Mexico, one right here all the way over in the Eastern Caribbean. That moved first. That was at the start of the week. Then, over here, simultaneously as that was moving, we saw a series of earthquakes break out from Japan, a deep 5.2, and then a stepping stone path of 5s leading right over to where our 7 is now, including the rare earthquake up to the north, up at the North Pole in Russia. So what are we going to look for? We're going to look for an increase in the United States, and we're going to go up by a full magnitude across the board. So if we're going to go up a full magnitude, you can see where we are now in the United States. So this is the last 3 days, 4 days worth of earthquake, 5 days. Last 5 days worth of 4.0 or 3.8 and greater in the United States. Take it down to 3s, 2s, 1s. You can see it goes across the plate, but look at the West Coast and look at our center of earthquakes. Do you see how all 3 sets of rings overlap here in northwest Nevada going up right across into central Oregon? That's where all 3 overlap. That's where we're going to watch for the combined total to go up. Oregon should be seeing a noteworthy sized earthquake in the next 7 days. So that puts us to next Sunday. So between now and the 23rd, I would watch where all 3 sets of rings overlap. That puts us from the coast of Oregon into central Oregon and as far east as Idaho in central Idaho, where the center of it all being right here. And we watch as far east as central Idaho's Chalice Reserve, and we watch as far west as the coast of Oregon. Now, if I take these and add them together directly, 4.6 plus 4.2, that equals 4.8. Pretty easy to add them together, just like adding anything together. Add in another 4.0, though, and you add in a 0.1 onto that. That, I guess, is 4.9. But we take it up by magnitude because of this. The wave, let me get back over to the USGS map. There is a wave that is going from all the way over here in the West Pacific. It's going up, across, over, and back down in the United States. It's dropping off the 7 along the way. It broke there. It was reflecting back into itself for the last week and a half. I talked about this in my last update. That the wave is reflecting back into itself over and over again. You can see it building up in power like a standing wave. We want to see it release out and go over and across and spread across the planet. It's coming from hammering bass drum type action over here down below the West Pacific, down below the Indo-Australian plate. That's where the wave is coming from. It spreads up, across, and over, and we see excitement across the way, including volcanic as well as seismic. Both have taken place across from Japan up and over. So 1 magnitude across the board increase in the United States. So in the middle of these 3 is where I'd watch for a 5.9. Let's just put it at a 6. 6.0 is what we'll watch for, upper 5 to low 6. Then, where there's 3.9, we would see a 4.9. So Mexico at the California border, San Diego going south into Baja, and then we would also see something like a 5 or close to it, strike over in Texas. Then, magnitude across the board now, across the United States. So take a look at the rest of the earthquakes over the last 2 days here in the United States. You'll see we have 2s in Colorado. That means 3s are coming to Colorado. You have 2s in Oklahoma. That means 3s are coming to Oklahoma. You have 2s in Missouri on the New Madrid seismic zone. It means 3s are coming to the New Madrid seismic zone. And if you have 1s and 2s up here, then that means 2s and 3s up in the Northeast, up by Maine and Quebec. So it's about to take a big step up across the board in the United States. Again, the wave is coming in. It's already there. It already broke up in Alaska. You got Mount Shishaldin erupting, and you've got this taking place now. Now, I mentioned Mount Baganya, which is here. Here in the West Pacific, a 54,000-foot high blast took place yesterday, going into today. And as soon as it happened, within 5 hours, they they removed the warning. They said it was a pyroclastic flow. But you'll see it in the warning list here. Volcanic ash observed from FL 540. That's flight level 540. That's 54,000 feet. How could it dissipate within a few hours? But there it is. Their own words. I don't know what to make of it, guys. Very odd to see that. And we go back over to where that happened. That happened over here in the far West Pacific. 54,000-foot high blast. And then it just goes away. That's 10 miles high. 10 miles. Can't just go away in a few hours. That's just, it doesn't make sense. And then to blame it on a pyroclastic flow, like, that's even more odd at the surface. Okay. So same time that's going on over here at Papua New Guinea, right across the Pacific, up here to the north, Mount Shishaldin goes. So big blast there, and Mount Shishaldin. Then the big earthquake. And this is all following our new deep earthquakes. So we have a hammering action of deep earthquakes taking place across the West Pacific. Now, I have a warning going on the opposite side of the planet over here at the antipode, so to speak. Right here at the letter X, we have 3 more days to go in the warning there in the Indian Ocean for same-sized earthquake that just struck up here at Alaska. Now, this is not the exact antipode. Antipode is just the opposite side of the planet, guys. We can look through the Earth and look to the other side, I guess. Look around it, or however you want to put it. And over here on the actual antipode would be somewhere down here at South Sandwich. But I'm watching the South Indian Ocean right at the X for our 7-point-something earthquake to take place there as well, out in the middle of nowhere. This one affected people up in Alaska, and we're going to see an effect seismic increase across the United States. That'll get everybody's attention. A 6 in Oregon. Man, we haven't had a 6 in Oregon but it's like a target. You can see it, right? Like, look where all the rings overlap, even for the big earthquake there. I'm not doing anything with the rings. They're just turned all the way up. And, I mean, I can turn them down, try to make it so they don't overlap. But there you go. The big earthquake ring overlaps in the middle of the other 3 that overlap themselves right here at Oregon. So it's almost like a double target. If you live in Hawaii, guys, you're going to take a magnitude step up as well. I would imagine that you would think we're going to, well, not imagine, I think we're going to be going up into the 5.0 range as well, but that's just a half magnitude larger than where you are now. The difference is it should be on land over by Captain Cook, I think, if we look at the smaller earthquakes. Let's go and take a quick look. Yeah. So, all the way up here to the north, is that Hualalai? Is that the name of the place? Hold on. Dang, I did this last time, too. I couldn't remember the one on the north side. What is this place? Kohala. Here's Hualalai. There's Kohala. I hardly ever have to talk about this place. Okay, first of all, Kohala is like Hualalai. Just look at the shape of it and the number of craters and how that goes out in a line all the way towards the ocean there. This is Hualalai. And then we'll go up here to Kohala. And it's the same thing, but it's older. And you have to zoom in closer to see the old buttes that are covered in trees here. And you can see some of them still. And they go down, they're unmistakable. You can still see them. It's just they're covered in trees and grass. And they go in a line. down to the ocean there. Now, this spot here where the 3.0 earthquake is also the spot where they had that slump that cracked off and slid down and caused the tsunamis to go all the way around the island and come back around. It's not the Helani slump, but it's like it. It's happened there before. You can see where it slid down here. And then, hold on. Hold on. Let's turn this to the side. There we go. So you can see it slid down in the past. That broke and went down. And we're on the edge of Kohala. Now, I think we're going to look between Kohala and where the rest of the earthquakes are down here at Pahala. And between Kohala and Pahala... I'm not laughing. I just, come on, man. Okay. Anyway, we're going to see an earthquake there in the 5.0 range. It'll get everybody's attention. Should be enough to knock things off shelves. Halfway point between the two quakes. And that's where we watch. Just east of Captain Cook. Anything else to watch for? Well, with 7s going on around the planet now, and that's a step up from where we were, we went weeks and weeks without any. Weeks and weeks without any 7.0 level activity at all. So for us to return back to 7s means we've taken a step back up. Now, this is not end of the world level activity, at least not yet. So don't worry about that, guys. It's not going back up into 7s is something, if we didn't do, I would start to worry that something was wrong with the planet. So here we are. We got 7s going across the planet, as expected, if you go back and listen to the last forecast. The only thing missing now is for the South Indian Ocean, the antipode to go, and for us to take a few steps up across Asia and go listen to the forecast for this week over on my channel. Not trying to self-promote, but I'm not going to get into a separate forecast now. This is an update covering the large earthquake in Alaska, the big eruption down at Bagana, and any other weird oddities that have happened that I can remember. Oh yeah, we do have to remind everybody to have an earthquake plan. You need to have an earthquake plan. You need to know what to do when earthquakes strike. Now, it's basic. You take shelter underneath a table or a desk. It's pretty basic, right? Now, you need to have an emergency kit, though. The emergency kit stuff is, you have to plan ahead. Change clothes, set of shoes, flashlight, batteries, first aid kit, sanitation. Do it. Look, there were people in Alaska that just had to scramble because of a tsunami warning, an actual warning. It sounds, it's not just an alert or something, not just an advisory. You get the warning and you got to leave your house instantly, within minutes, because of tsunami if you live along the coast. Or the fires, another example is the fires, which I'm not going to go into now on the fires. But if you have to evacuate, you need to have an emergency kit that has all the basics in it that you need to survive. Change of clothes, set of shoes, and the basics. Also, your important documents, or at least copies of them and ways to make copies of them. A lot of times you can take a digital picture of it now, and have it on a flash drive, so you don't even, one of those waterproof flash drives. You don't even have to worry about carrying around paperwork in many cases now. Anyway, just do it. Please, will you? Now, the food and water is something you need to have for longer-term survival, and I'm not going to lecture you on that. I will lecture you on one thing, though. Something that's in the news right now. Something that I don't really want to get too far into, but it's a great way to end my video. Did you hear the news? Let me read it to you in case you missed it. Cosmic rays are now found to have a connection to earthquakes. That's not the headline. The headline is, there's a surprising connection between earthquakes and cosmic rays. Quote, according to a new study, this is from Polish scientists, it's a correlation between changes in the cosmic ray behavior and the strength of earthquakes. Researchers discovered that when a change in secondary cosmic rays is noticed, a fairly strong earthquake is likely to follow. The team believes that both events can be attributed to the behavior of the Earth's core and the effect it has on our magnetosphere. Where have I heard that before? And guess what? No mention of the sun yet. They're taking baby steps towards that. Just thought you'd get a little kick out of that news. And if you want to go over to my community page, you can get a link to that. Here it is. It's on MSN of all places. Microsoft News. Popular Mechanics has got their fingers all over it. It's amazing. Absolutely amazing. Am I bitter about any of this? No. No. Why would I be? How much grant money do you think they got to do all that? These guys are freaking riding around on Lamborghinis, freaking. Whatever, man. I'm not going to be jealous. That's right. Not going to be jealous. All right. Okay. All right. Anyway, much love. You guys be safe. No tsunami. That's good news. And 5.0 level activity going to 6.0 level activity on the west coast of the United States, though. That's not good news. So I want you to be ready and be prepared for that. Let's not make too light of it. There's a big wave coming in, and it's coming into Oregon. So I'll get the warning now to the people who you know. You can just leave me out of it if you need to, if I'm a controversial figure or you're embarrassed to share my stuff. Just contact the people you know on the West Coast in Oregon and Washington and Northern California. Tell them that incoming 6 is due, and it's because a wave is coming in. Not a wave of water, a seismic wave. It's coming in from the northwest. You can see it coming from Japan, obviously, on the screen here right now. Right? Stepping stone path of earthquakes heading over towards the big earthquake. Well, it's going to carry on over towards the United States. It's also going to carry on the other side of the planet. Anyway, that gets into my last video and how this all spreads. And if you want to know more, you can go watch that video. Peace out, guys. Much love.